Come, let us prepare. Make some good profits. Today, the market looked at very nice liquidity and good clues right here. Now let's talk about that in today's video. And thank you everyone for your patience today. Really appreciate it. Let's talk a little bit about the early algorithms that I charted. Right here, I want to explain some of the more important points here. Now, right at the start of the day, we identified this orange and magenta, right? And it's quite important. You see magenta and the orange forming that dual algorithms right here, especially once it broke out. And you see, just let me zoom it in a little bit more. You see the magenta turning into some sort of resistance here, especially with the double top wicks right there, isn't it? So at this point here, you definitely have to see, and we charted the blue algorithm then. So it's important you chart the blue algorithm, know that there is some form of selling that is trying to commence, and this blue algorithm was quite easy. It appeared right at the start. So this is as good as just a simple selling continuation right in the first 15 minutes of the day. Right, it's quite straightforward here. Now, the only issue you have to worry about will be the THU here, which actually will save you from going long here. Because we had this really large green candle here, right off the bounce of that magenta. Penny perfect. Very beautiful bounce of that magenta right there, and this THU would have prevented you from going long. So absolutely beautiful. You would have just waited, because the THU is a resistance, isn't it? And you would have seen that the head and shoulder probably formed very beautifully off that magenta. Your only problem here will be your target is limited by your THU here. Give me a minute, something's lagging my system. Just a quick one here. Okay, hope it's better now. So you understand that, right? The only problem you probably have is this break of the THU. So once it broke out of this couple of red candles, this is where you absolutely have to protect, because you see how you're already at the bottom of that blue algorithm here. And this is just absolutely beautiful, because once we return back to the THU, we rejected it straight away. That's fine. Wait for your retracement, isn't it? Because the blue appeared right again. You see, the blue seller was very aggressive all the way down. Right, so you could have still caught a retracement, and this would have brought you all the way down to the moving averages. Now, life is like that. If you didn't catch it as early, this will be difficult for you. But you could have always took, as I always say, if you can try to manage, you try to take your puts at your resistances and your calls at support. Alright, you understand that. And if you manage to catch this head and shoulder pattern, this blue algorithm is a dream sent for you. Right, this is an absolute gift from the market. And at that point here, especially once we reach the moving averages, it's easy. It's an easy decision. You have to protect and cut as much as possible. Now, I want you to ask yourself, how many of you, at this point here, once we already tested major supports, you're still holding on to your puts? A majority of your puts instead of taking profits. And you ask yourself why, and you realize that it's greed that is trying to control your trading. You see, your trading decision is no longer rational. It's greed driven. So you have to be more aware of yourself, because trading will make you a better person. the weakest link is the person that's clicking the buttons. You have to remember that. But anyway, I digress. Now at this point here, you would have already identified magenta. Yeah, so magenta was quite clear cut. We already identified that. Now it's a little off here, but you see it. You have already identified a magenta, right? So you had your risk to rewards limit if you're taking a zombie, right? If you're taking a bounce off the major supports, which it's something that you should be considering practicing, right? It's something we do all the time, and especially when it's guided so cleanly with the orange here. Now you would have already protected, taken some profits, and see if it continues heading up, which it absolutely did within the magenta. So you would have taken more profits here at the magenta. If I were trading this, I would have taken all my profits here at the magenta. That's fine, and see if the teal continues to build liquidity. Now remember, I warned you about waiting for cups close. I told you to wait for yellow 695, isn't it? And to see if teal continues to build more liquidity. There is an absolute reason why to do that, because when you wait for that to happen, you can see if it clearly breaks out of the magenta. So you can imagine, if it wants to break out of magenta, this will happen, right? A previous resistance turned into support, and you would see teal building liquidity before pushing its way up. Can you visualize this? It's important you learn to visualize so you can know how to plan. But in this case, you see the magenta was still in control, right? I recharted this slightly because there was another algorithm that appeared, and that's this yellow. Now, once this yellow appeared, now it became quite straightforward to see that the bears were trying to build more liquidity. So we'll probably be trapped. Yeah, we're trapped in that flag for the entirety of the day. And that's only because we had very strong support levels here. And so these are clues that the market has given us. This is absolutely beautiful clues. We have to gather clues like that and prepare for Thursday and Friday. So let's talk about Thursday and Friday, isn't it? And where do we go from here? But yeah, quite straightforward day, isn't it? And it's straightforward only if you recognize that if you missed any trades and there's no longer any setups, that, you know, it never broke out of range. So by this time here, I would have already set my range here at yellow 695 and obviously at the moving averages. So if it doesn't retest any of the ranges, I am not going to overtrade this. Absolutely not. And that's the beauty. If you learn how to be planning ahead, and if it doesn't happen, you are not wasting time. You're not caught becoming liquidity. This is a minefield right here. Why do you want to enter this? And so that's fine. If it doesn't happen, so be it. Learn to walk away. That's the beauty of trading. That's the beauty. It's so beautiful. Right? So you have to recognize this. You have to acknowledge this. For most of you who are still trying to force trades, that's something you have to learn about yourself. Yeah. Now, where do we go from here? It's important you take a look at the 30-minute chart to see how much liquidity is being built here. Understand the liquidity that was being built here, right? Now, I talked about several liquidity here. The first was here, and we attacked that today, quite straightforward. At the start of the day, we attacked that particular liquidity here. So you see it happening, right? We attacked that again today. Sorry, this was yesterday. We attacked that liquidity yesterday from that blue algorithm, right? So this was an easy one from yesterday. Please watch yesterday's live stream so you can have a better understanding of how to latch on from one day to another, so you can see the entire thought process for yourself. And today we had, once again, we rejected that range. Now this candle, just be careful because it's a rejection candle. So before we head up again, I want to be talking a little bit about how to be looking out for that liquidity. Right, so you see the second, this liquidity that I talked about as well. Right, so at this point here, if the market is kind to us, we close a cup and we start heading down here, this will be absolutely ideal. right? Especially if we triggered the moving averages, right? Because this will be the same liquidity here. And if this happens, especially off the orange, and it triggers a green selling, this will be absolutely ideal. So just be more patient, right? You have the moving averages within range. You can absolutely wait for the retest of the moving averages. So just be careful, right? This orange algorithm here, right? We can grind down this orange together with the green. That's absolutely possible too if we do trigger or the stops at the moving averages there. So there it is. You see the liquidity here and here that was being used. The larger one here, as I told you about, may not happen this week, but if it happens, I will be very surprised, but not unprepared, right? So, right, it's still within range, that 680 yellow. I talked about this in the blue algorithm here. So just pay close attention. By then, you will see 5-day already starting to trend down. Now, this one you have to understand, and this comes from watching the live streams throughout the entire week. When you have more context to flesh out your trading decisions, it helps you a lot more, right? This was here, and I talked about how, right, this was when I talked about a bounce, right? Told you to sell some puts, get into some positions, buy into your positions, because the bottom Bollinger, if it wants to trend down, if this wants to continue heading down, bottom Bollinger has to trend down, and 5-day has to continue with it. So this is your secret. If the 5-day is not trending together down, and to retest and to attack this liquidity here, we're probably not heading down. And so you want the 5-day to continue trending down together with the bottom Bollinger at this point if it wants to grab this liquidity. So set alerts here, 680. Set alerts. If it happens, you're prepared. And so this is why I hope if we are going down, we take a few more days for the 5-day to build more liquidity on the way down. Right, unless obviously if it's an extremely negative catalyst, right, something that you and I cannot control. It's nothing to do with liquidity, nothing to do with the order books, right? If this happens and it breaks through every barrier, you're ready to, because you know this. Once it breaks this is going to sell hard. Sell hard if it wants to trigger the stops and have some catastrophic selling right here. Right, and you're prepared too, so set alerts. What you want to worry about is this liquidity here that I talked about. Yeah, I talked about this. If the market wants to rebuild liquidity here, this will be ideal. Remember, I mentioned that. If this wants to head up further, you want to see it build more liquidity. It's happening now together with the moving averages. Now, micro one will be here because this is exactly what you see here. Why the market is building liquidity here. I want you to see for yourself how the market can be building liquidity. Right, and you see it grab it off the moving averages too. So look out for that, right? Some microstructure here, absolutely you can be looking out for. You notice the green is still, right? We had that beautiful bounce off the green as well, right? You see that, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. We're still within the orange, so this is still within the buying continuation. So if we do break out early, right? So say we break out early here. That's absolutely possible too, as long as we're within the orange. But on the breakout, you want to see green that's buying up to 700, right? That's the minimal you want to see. Now, hopefully we have a breakout by the end of this week instead of wedging. But if it wedges, you're ready, right? Because you see there is a very tight wedge here. So I hope at least Thursday, Friday, we break out of this wedge. There is a larger wedge here, which this one is a little bit more larger. Right, so just be more careful, but you still can find plenty of profits in this chart here as well. Now smaller. Pardon me. Now, if we do break and reclaim moving averages, that will be so much easier as well. We will get moves up and down. So if you're day trading, you want more imbalances. You want moves up and down. And so watch out for this liquidity. Watch out for this liquidity here and for this one. Now wait for cups to close. There's plenty of liquidity in the MAs. Watch out for the selling algorithm here. And obviously, if it wants to sell, if we break the major levels, you want to see the stronger precision algorithm showing. Quite straightforward, yeah. I'll see you closer to opening bell tomorrow. And thank you for your patience today. keep practicing, right? You notice once I identify the early algorithms for you, right at the start of the day, it becomes so straightforward. So learn to practice, and as I always say, once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Yeah. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good night.